when it comes to your game dev skills, what do you feel as though you have improved on? What did you used to find really difficult, and what do you find easier now, essentially, since you've started the game 4 times?
Yeah, I feel whenever I first started, movement was actually the biggest struggle.
Movement,
Really
okay.
hated it. Just getting a character to move around was like the bane of my existence. Any movement from the player to the enemies, just hated it. It was a lot of math I personally didn't understand. Um, but as we kind of continued restarting and we went from like a super simple movement system where it's just W, A, S, and D to move your character to something like Ubisoft's movement system where animations flow together, we kind of ended almost at like a Goldilocks where it's not super complex, where it's taking us 2 to 3 weeks to implement a new set of movement system or movement animations, but it's not basic enough where it's not fun. So we implemented a whole physics-based movement system, which not only feels great, but is fun to play and also gives you that like almost refined look to something that was originally not too complex.
What advice would you give to a game developer that finds themselves in a similar position to you, thinking about starting over again?
Right.
Mm.
What my mentor has told me
Yeah.
through the years as he's watched me fail and pick myself back up again is just a simple phrase that I would live by and now live by is just simply get it done. And it's super simple, but every time you're stuck on a problem, you're wondering, should I just restart everything? There's a better way of doing this. You need to consider the fact that you need to get it done and you can improve on your next project. And that's something I wish past me would have almost understood because if you look through the history of
Mm-hmm.
Windshire, we got to a point where it was almost a game and then we would have restarted. So if we just pushed ourselves to like that last 15%, then we could have simply released, had projects under our belt that, albeit not the best, would have been able to showcase to other people that, look, we did finish a project and we're working on something way better. So if you think you can get it done or you can make it better, simply get it done first and make your next project 10 times better.
How much power are you giving to your community? And I'm specifically thinking of the example of the burrito weapon.
So, since this whole game has been, you know, sort of like developed with a community in mind, back all the way in 2018 when we started, which is running over to 6 years now, which is scary to think about.
Yeah.
But um, we've always had like the community centered first, as in, there's been through the community, there's been multiple running jokes about what we should add into the game. For years, it was a platypus, and that started off by a simple poll of like I wanted to add an animal, but I wasn't sure which animal I wanted, and someone jokingly said platypus. So if you go through like old comments on our channel and our Discord, we have tons of people going like, "Where's the platypus?" on every single thing we shared. And then I remember it was sometime in 2022 when I finally sat down and I implemented this platypus, and the community engagement was astronomical. Everyone was like loving it, and seeing that like the connection of adding something the community's been wanting into your project, and even if it's as little as a platypus or a burrito, it kind of gives it kind of brings the community together for a moment.
You keep mentioning game juice. What is game juice?
Game juice, the best way I could explain it is kind of like the huff or like the little bit that you need to make a game go from just hitting something with a stick to actually feeling the hit. It's almost like, you can play a song on a piano, but until you hear the sounds, you're not going to understand what you're playing.
Okay,
So
cool.
for us, it was, you can always hit an orc, but how do you really know that you hit an orc? Because if there's no animation, there's no effects, there's no sounds, then it almost just looks like a sword going through an enemy, which is really what it is. But we need to like capture that like instant that sword actually makes contact with that enemy and make the player feel the impact of that hit. That's what game juice is, in my opinion.
Nice. I just love how you just keep like mentioning it. I love it. I think it's such a cool word. I'm going to
Yeah.
start using it.